Hello lovely people, welcome back to my channel. To my returning subscribers, thank you so much for your support, and to my new audience, thank you for stopping by. In this channel we upload sewing tutorials, DIYs, sewing hacks, sewing tricks, sewing techniques and styles. So in today's tutorial we want to learn how to draft a bustier. So without wasting much of our time, let's go straight into the tutorial. So the first thing you will do is to mark all your measurements on your pattern paper. This represents my shoulder line. The next line here is my chest line. You can as well call it your upper bust line. So the next line is my bust line. Measure from my shoulder to my bust point. So when you measure from your shoulder to your bust point, whatever measurement you have, then you draw the line, measure it and draw. The next line is my underbust line. Measure from your shoulder to your underbust. Whatever measurement you have, then you measure it and draw a straight line. And the next line is my waistline. When you measure from your shoulder to the smallest part of your body, the waist, whatever you have, then you draw it. This is the full length. So now let's start. First, I will impute my neck measurement, though this is not really necessary for this style, but as a guideline, you will just do it as a guideline. So I want to make use of 3 by 3 inches for the neck, 3 inches neck width and 3 inches neck depth. So I'll mark my 3 inches and I'll mark my 3 inches neck depth as well. So I'll draw my neckline. So the next thing is for me to impute my shoulder measurement. When you measure your shoulder, whatever you have, you divide it by 2. So I will impute the shoulder I'm working with is 17 inches, and I divide by 2, that gives me 8.5. So from that shoulder point, I'll come down by 1 inch. Come down by 1 inch, and that represents my shoulder slope. I will then connect it. That's my shoulder slope. I will connect it to the end of my neck width. Can you see it? So the next thing is for me to connect a straight line from this my shoulder slope to my chest line. So I like measuring my shoulder measurement there so that I'll have a straight line. So on that line, I'll come up by 3 inches. Come up by 3 inches. Then I will go inside towards the center front by ½ an inch. I will impute my bust measurement here. My bust measurement divided by 4. Then I will impute here. So when you measure around your bust, whatever measurement you have, you divide it by 4. Then you mark it on your chest line. The one I'm working with, after dividing it by 4, I have 10.25. So I will connect the points. So the next thing now is for me to measure my bust span. That's my nipple to nipple measurement. Whatever number I have, then I'll divide it by 2. So then my nipple to nipple measurement, that's my bust span measurement, is 9. When I divide that by 2, I will have 4.5. So I will mark it on my bust line, on my other bust line, and on my waistline. I'll connect those points. The next thing is for me to determine my mid shoulder. So I will measure from this point to this point of my shoulder. Whatever number I have, I'll divide it by 2. So that is my midpoint. I will connect it to my bust point. Can you see? Then the next thing now is for me to impute my dart. For that, I want to use 2 inches dart intake. That is 1 inch on both sides. So I'll measure on my waistline. I'll measure 1 inch on both sides of the line. Then I'll connect it to the bust part. And you see, that is my dart intake. So the next thing is for me to impute my other horizontal measurement. So I'll impute my bust measurement. I said it earlier that the bust that I'm working with, when I divide by 4, it gives me 10.25. So do same with the bust measurement that you're working with. Divide it by 4, whatever you have, then you impute the measurement. For the under bust, I will omit the under bust. I will go straight to my waist. Under bust, we will do under bust tightening. So for the under bust, we will come back to that. So let's impute the waist. Measure around your waist. Whatever you have, you divide it by 4. Then you mark it. So for the one I'm working with, when I divide by 4, I'll have 8.75 plus this my 2 inches that's 1 on each side. So that will give 10.75. I will connect my lines. So the next thing I will do now is for me to impute my bust dart. When you impute your bust dart, you need to measure from your shoulder to your waist. For the front, whatever measurement you have, then you keep it. You measure from your shoulder to your waist. For the back, whatever measurement you compare. The difference between the front and the back is what you will use as your bust dart. So the one I'm working with is from shoulder to the waist. For the front is 17. From shoulder to the waist for the back is 15. So I have a difference of 2 inches. So on the bust line, I will mark 2 inches downward. Then I'll connect it to my bust point. For the under bust tightening, on the center front, for those with the nipple measurement of 9 inches, you measure from your center front 3.5 inches. But for those with nipple to nipple measurement of 8, then you measure from your center front 3 inches. And for those less than 8, you measure from your center front 2.5 or 2.75. So for the one I'm working with, remember I said it's 9, so I will measure from my center front 3.5. Mark my 3.5. Then I'll carry that 3.5 to this other side of my dart leg. I believe you can see it. Let me rephrase what I said. Measure 3.5. Since my bust span measurement is 9, I'll measure 3.5. If your bust span measurement, or you can call it nipple to nipple measurement, is 8, then you measure 3 inches. Then if it's less than 8, let me say maybe 7, you measure 2.5 or 2.75. So I've measured my 3.5. Then I'll carry that 3.5 and place. Can you see? Here I have my 3.5 and make the 3.5 to be on this other dart leg. Then I continue my measurement for my under bust. So in essence, when you measure the first one, maybe if it's 3, then you carry your 3 to this other dart leg. Then you continue your measurement till you have the exact under bust. So the one I'm working with, my under bust, when I divide by 4, it gives me 8.25. So I'll place my 3.5 on this other dart leg, then measure to where I have my 8.25. This is my 8.25. So this overflow that I have here is what I will use for my underbust tightening. This other overflow here and this other one is what I will use for my underbust tightening. Remember that we have a dart here as well. So when we add that, if we measure what we have here, this is about 0.75. If I add 0.75 is enough for the underbust tightening. So the next thing I will do now is for me to measure whatever I have here. That is 0.75. So I will replace it here. 0.75. Can you see? The next thing I will do now is for me to determine my overbust. That's where I want it to start. Determine my overbust. So you check if you want it to be deep, if you don't want it to be deep, if you want it to cover the bust very well, or if you want it to reveal the bust. So when you measure from your shoulder to your cleavage, whatever measurement you have, you minus 3. That is the standard. For example, if from your shoulder to your cleavage is 7, when you minus 3, that will be 4. So you mark from your shoulder to where you have 4. Then you draw a line. That line will represent your overbust line. But you know, anything constant, you can work around it, you can manipulate it to suit what you want. So you can decide to measure maybe 5 inches, you can decide to measure maybe 4 inches, depending on how revealing you want it to be. So for this particular one that I'm working with, I will measure 5 inches from my shoulder line to where I have 5 inches. Then I will mark that to be my overbust line. This very pattern can also be used for your off shoulder bustier. For your off shoulder bustier, and it can also be used. This same pattern can also be used for your yoke bustier. There's a bustier with yoke. Okay. So this is my overbust line. So the next thing now is for me to tighten my overbust. When sewing a bustier, you need to tighten the overbust and the underbust. So for my overbust tightening, or should I say contouring, I want to use 0.75 on each side. You can decide to use 1 inch if the person is busty, but if the person doesn't really have bust, you can use 0.5. So I want to use 0.75 on each side. So on this line, I will measure 0.75 here and 0.75 here. Those are my 0.75 points. Then I'll connect it to my bust point as well. Okay, can you see my, now I have tightened my overbust, and this is my underbust tightening. So I will draw my curve now for the underbust tightening. Remember how we derive our dart intake. So I will place my curve roller like this. Can you see how I place my ruler? Not that curvy. When I hold my dart, it will be very curved. It will curve very well. Can you see how I place my ruler? Even if it doesn't touch the line, it still doesn't touch this point, there's no problem. It will not make any difference. Can you see? So I will just connect my point starting from this upper dart line. Can you see? Can you see it? Can you see? Not that pointed. Then for this other side, I'll make sure that it starts from this very bust point. And you see, for this point, I'm not really using much curve compared to this other point. Can you see, this one looks slightly like straight, but not straight. This one is quite curvy. So what I'll do next is for me to connect here to this dart leg and here to this dart leg as well. You see? Then I'll connect this way as well. Can you see my darts? So that is my darts. So the next thing is for me to determine my neck, how I want the neck to be. I want to make use of a sweetheart neck line. So I'll decide on how I want to connect my sweetheart neckline, how deep I want the sweetheart neckline to be. So I'll just draw. So that is how I want the neckline to be. So remember, whatever you take here, you have to replace it on the armhole side so that you won't be short of fabric when sewing. Remember, we make use of 0.75 on each side, which gives us 1.5 inch. So form a new armhole line, new armhole curve. So that is my new armhole. So I will cut my pattern. Remember to add your sewing allowance. You can decide to add your sewing allowance when you want to cut your fabric. Can you see my pattern after cutting them? I believe you can see how it looks like. So before cutting it on my fabric, I will hold the bust dart. So this little place, and I've got another piece of paper, place it under, then I will tape it down. So now I have taped down my bust dart. Can you see how curvy it looks? So I will go ahead now to cut my fabric using the pattern, and make sure that you add your joining allowance. Remember that there's no joining allowance here, so when you want to cut your fabric, add your joining allowance. You can make use of 1/2 inch, even 0.25, depending on how you want it. You can go ahead to add 1/2 inch all through, and for this one 1/2 inch as well, here 1/2 inch as well, this side 1/2 inch as well. Then for the side seam allowance, you can make use of 2 inches, you can make use of 2.5, even 1.5, depends on what you want, but I normally like making use of 2 inches so that I won't be short of fabric. Rather, you can have in excess than to be short of fabric. So the next thing now is for me to cut my wadding and pad this bustier. I believe you would like to see the final outcome of this. So thank you so much for watching. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and share our videos. So make sure you look out for the padding of this bustier. See you on our next video. Bye bye.